Eve. First day of school, back to teaching, back to the grind, all these kids. How was your summer?
Well, you know, I taught summer school. It was all right.
Yeah. Oh, there's your husband having lunch too. God, he is. The kids must love him. You are so lucky.
Yep. Yeah, I'm the lucky one.
How does he like his English classes?
Oh, he loves it. It's all he ever talks about.
I know.
Loves all of his students. He's obsessed with all of them.
Such an easy subject. You and that math. I would fail your class.
Oh, yep. It takes a lot of concentration to be in my class. You know.
Can't imagine.
Need some discipline. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe.
And I'm Mary.
And we're Book Buds. And today we are discussing The Teacher by Freida McFadden, one of my favorite new books. Love this author.
And so the scene we just did was just like a very short scene, so there wasn't any spoilers in it. But we did a second scene with spoilers that we will show right before we get into our spoiler part of the discussion. I said that word too many times. Okay, so this first part is going to be totally spoiler free because it's a great book and we want to inspire you guys to read it. And we'll be very clear when we're getting into the spoilers.
Yes, I'm so glad you read this book.
Yeah, I don't normally read thrillers, but Joe was saying like, oh my God, and the end made me scream.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I should read it so you can talk about it.
I can't wait to talk about the ending.
So without talking about the ending, the
Yes.
basic story here is that we've got two teachers, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. They're married, and Mr. Bennett teaches English. Mrs. Bennett teaches math. And we have a student named Addie.
Addie, yes.
Who she's troubled. And
she's troubled.
She had some
Last
problems.
year, she got a teacher fired, Mr. Tuttle.
Yeah.
We really don't know in the beginning what went on between them, some inappropriateness possibly.
Right. So
he was fired.
She's like the sketchy student that might cause problems. And so Mrs. Bennett's a little concerned about having her in her class. She doesn't know that she's also going to be in the husband's class too.
Yeah.
And, you know, that creates some very interesting dynamics, interesting plot. Addie is all alone. She doesn't have any friends because of how she messed up.
Yep.
Something I want to say that's non-spoilery is that the way that the book's written, you really see everything that's happening as it's happening. Like, I was expecting to think like, oh, I'm going to have to try and figure out who's doing these terrible acts and which person's this, you know, going to do this and that. No, you watch the person do those things in real time as you get to it in the book. So then I was like, but Joe told me there's twists. Like, where are these twists going to come in?
Those are not the twists.
So it's not. And it's kind of like the twists are things that you would not expect to have come along and just slap you in the face.
Correct.
So,
and that's how she writes her books.
Yeah.
And she throws in other little devices in there, like the friend, or not really a friend, but Kenzie in school, who like tortures her. She's the bully.
Yes.
She makes fun of Addie. She does horrible things to Addie.
Yes.
So like, you know, all along we're thinking, okay, what's going to happen between Addie and Kenzie?
Yes.
What's going on here?
And
it's not what you think.
Right. It's not what you think, but some interesting things happen there.
Yes.
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 So there's other little components to the story that you're like, let me see if I can get in the author's head.
Yeah.
Right?
And she distracts you with these things.
She does.
And like, I try to pay attention. I try to like figure it all out. And I never can.
So
I never can.
Trying to pay attention. Like, I read this book, and when I was done and I was freaking out to Joe, I was like, no, wait. So that means da, da, da. And I'm like, are you sure? And I had
needed
to
concrete
go.
evidence.
He's like, yeah, I think that's what it is, Mary. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go reread it and see if it comes up. I had to like fact check in the book.
The way that she wrote it, right?
Yes.
It left it open.
It really makes you think about so many things when she hits you at the end with all this stuff.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was a fun ride.
So to sum up like the non-spoiler stuff, so this student is now in...
Didn't we do it?
They're both... She's in both of their classes and things start to happen. She loves English, so she's really connected to Mr. Bennett. She hates math, and so she has like conflict with her. So like this is what's going on.
Yes. All right, so I think we're ready for spoilers, right?
I need to get into it.
Okay, so up next, we've got our skit for the spoilers to start us off. Enjoy.
Bonus. Addie, what are you doing in my kitchen?
Mrs. Bennett, I shouldn't be here. I'm sorry.
Listen, Addie, I know about you and my husband. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
Mrs. Bennett, we're soulmates. You have to understand, it's not like his relationship with you. You guys haven't loved each other in so long.
No, honey, I know you feel like that now, but he's taking advantage of you. You're a young girl.
No, he's not. No, we're perfect together. He quotes poems to me. He writes them for me.
Oh, no, this is more serious than I thought. I think we need to take this to the principal.
No, you can't take it to the principal. We're soulmates. You can't destroy him like that.
No, Addie,
it would ruin his career.
No, we have to get to this to the
No,
principal.
you can't. You can't.
Oh!
What have I done?
Okay.
So where do we even start?
Oh my God. Okay, well, I love how this author is not afraid to do like some taboo topics because, surprise, surprise, here are the spoilers. He starts banging his student in the dark room.
Yep. And
what is wrong with him?
And I'm thinking he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. And oh my God, he did.
He so did.
He went there, and I was a little surprised because I thought he was better than that. But no, he's totally having sex with this 16-year-old student in the dark room in the high school.
Correct.
Not cool.
No. Who's to blame here? Is he to blame?
Is
he innocent? Is she evil like they say she is? He's evil.
He's the bad guy. So yeah,
okay.
I mean, since we're full spoilers, yeah.
We had to talk. So he is a planner. So he had her write that assignment to the person who...
Your angry assignment. Yes, write your angry letter to Kenzie because she was pissed at the girl that put all the foam in her locker, the shaving cream in her locker.
What you want to do to her.
Right, and he never gave it back to her. Like, he was like, I'm going to need this one day. I don't think he was like, she's going to kill my wife. I don't think he thought that. But he's like, let me hold on to this because then, like, you know, if she ends up coming and telling people that we had an affair, it could be like, look at this deranged letter she wrote. This is a really unhinged student. So it's like building a file against her should anything erupt against him. Asshole.
I think he did plan it because he put it in her head towards the end of the book.
He was like, well, if she
dies, you know, we could be together. So I think he had this plan all along. I think he's a psycho sociopath and he's crazy.
He's really crazy. There's so much to talk about.
So, so let's talk about Mrs. Bennett. So Mrs. Bennett, I felt bad for her in the beginning because, you know, Mr. Bennett doesn't pay any attention to her. Doesn't give her any sex, doesn't buy her any birthday presents, like it's just totally like detached. And so she's just feeling, you know, she's just missing out on that whole part of her life.
Right.
So
and she describes it like, you know, we have one kiss in the morning and one kiss at night.
Yes.
Yeah. Sex once a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes out and she has an affair.
Yeah. So before we knew she was having an affair, I was like, oh, the poor thing. And then she's having an affair, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're having an affair. But we knew about her affair before he started sleeping with the student.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was also very interesting. And I was like, all right, people, you guys got to break up.
Right. Like, what's going on here?
Yes. So then what else do you want to talk about?
So then...
There's so much. Like, what order?
I know, it's like
okay, so I'm gonna jump.
Go.
Because so she ended up at the end of the book, we find out that when she was 15 she slept with him.
Yeah.
And she was the student, and he was a newly graduated from college professor at school. And so here she's sleeping with her teacher. So I'm like, oh my God, you're sleeping with your teacher. Why would you think that this wouldn't happen again?
Right.
You were 15 when you started this sexual relationship with this man, and you get married, and you think that he's gonna want that for life then? Like, no, if he has a thing for 15-year-olds, he's gonna always have a thing for 15-year-olds.
Yeah. And we didn't realize the age gap. I didn't know that.
No, it was not clear that they had an age gap between them.
Right.
Yeah. So that was wild. So it really blew my mind though at the end when there were the two. It was like a 2-twist thing. So you said you were screaming when you got to the end of the book. So she says, you know, I was 15 when I started being with him, and I was like, oh! And then a few pages later, we get the Jay, the guy that she's sleeping with, is also a student
at the school.
And I'm like, oh my God,
Addie's friend. So she's having an affair with her student too.
So if I hope you've read the book if you're watching all these spoilers, because when Addie knocks out Mrs. Bennett with the frying pan, she thinks that she's killed her, okay? And they go and bury her alive.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bennett leaves Addie to finish the burying and like runs off with the car, and she's got to walk home in the mud. She
Right.
calls Hudson, her friend, to pick her up. No questions asked. He doesn't know why he's picking her up in the middle of nowhere,
And
right?
he comes.
And he comes at 2 o'clock in the morning. Then at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, he gets another phone call because he's actually Jay.
Right. He's actually the
And
freaking shoe
he gets a
salesman
phone
that
call
she's having sex with.
from Mrs. Bennett, who claws her way out of being buried alive.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So, like any other book, I feel like that's so ridiculous, but like it didn't make me hate this book or think of it. I didn't think it was ridiculous.
No.
So Mr. Bennett fucking abandons Addie to deal with this dead body.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. She didn't bury her properly. So the woman doesn't die. She climbs out of the grave. I mean, this sounds ridiculous. And then she calls him. He comes to her aid.
Mm-hmm.
And
like he's not like Mrs. Bennett says, "Oh, my husband tried to kill me and bury me." She doesn't say Addie was here, and Hudson's like, "I just picked up Addie here," but he's not telling her, and he's like,
Right.
"Oh, that's horrible." So it makes me really wonder about Jay Hudson, like, what kind of person is he that he's
Right.
like,
right.
just like, okay, I'm gonna pick you up and pretend I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Full details of this attempted murder on this lady that I'm banging that's 20 years older than me.
Right.
Oh
So
my
then they
God.
wind up, they got revenge on Nate, Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
They killed him, put him in the grave.
Yes.
What? No, they buried him alive, right?
Yes, they buried him alive,
Revenge.
which
Perfect.
was wild. I mean, and so here then we have Hudson, Jay, witnessing the murder, like really serious, aggressive murder on Mr. Bennett, right?
Yeah.
But when he was younger, a year or so
I
earlier,
forgot about that. Yeah.
Addie pushed her stepdad, was it her stepdad or her dad?
Her
Whoever,
father.
her father, down the steps because he was a drunken bastard and he was always terrible, and he came staggering up the steps and was gonna like swing at them or something. She pushed him down the steps, he dies, and she's like, "Hudson, we have to leave." So he witnessed it. He didn't help or anything. Addie always made it sound like he helped, and he didn't help.
Yeah.
He was just there, and he was a part of the chaos.
Kept her secret.
He kept that secret.
Which is why they didn't talk anymore.
Right.
For a little bit.
And now he's like,
And
"All right, Mrs. Bennett, if
yeah.
you want to bury this man alive, that's your husband, you can do whatever you want." And he's like, "Okay, let's do it."
I mean, this poor guy's just trying to get laid, and he's getting freaking pulled into all this fucking bullshit.
Oh my God.
Like, he needs to find another crew.
It makes me worry. Like, you know, if he was a real person, like, what would his life turn out
Oh,
down the road?
It's going to be bad.
He's going to become a bad guy.
He's all traumatized, all fucked up.
It's the layers
We're doing case studies.
in this book. He needs therapy.
There's a lot. So at the end, when all that crazy stuff was happening, did you have a negative reaction to it? Because as we're talking about it, it sounds ridiculous.
No.
Okay, good, because
thought
I
was
loved
great.
it. Yeah.
I think, like, if we had known all those things as they were unfolding, if we knew the overlap of Hudson and Jay to the different people, we probably would have been rolling our eyes a little bit. But not knowing and then having it, like, wham in our face like that, I think the, like, "Oh my God," outweighs that, any other kind of reaction.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about Kenzie.
Kenzie.
So Kenzie, I thought for a while I was reading it that Addie was going to kill Kenzie.
Yeah.
Because she took her keys, she went in her house, she really hated her. Her
all
life.
distractions, Freida. You did good.
Yeah, her life would have been so much better if Kenzie wasn't hassling her like that, you know? Maybe her self-esteem would have been such that she wouldn't have, like, fallen for the teacher and been screwing him in school and everything, you know? So that was messed up. I really thought Kenzie was going to end up dead, and then that letter that she wrote hating Kenzie would come out, and they'd be like, "See, you wanted to kill her," you know. But then that Kenzie came out at the end that
was revealed
she had also had an affair when she was 14,
Mr. Bennett,
with Mr. Bennett, and it, like, messed with her head and crushed her and, like, and that's why she was treating Addie so poorly, because of how she was affected by the trauma of the breakup from Mr. Bennett. How was this man not found out before?
I mean, he's a pedophile. What's
my
going
God.
on?
So wrong.
Well, he's dead now.
That's right.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
I really want to know, like, the post story, what happens, because at the end we have the cops involved. They're looking for Mrs. Bennett. She has mysteriously disappeared. They think that she's dead. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, nope, here I am. I'm alive. I'm fine. I don't know what you guys are talking about. My husband's missing, but I don't really care.
He's a real fuck. He reported her missing.
Yep.
Trying to pin it on her, told the cops that he thinks it's Addie, gave the letter. He was a son of a bitch.
Bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was so charming. That's the way the bad ones are. They're very charming.
Yeah.
Be cautious of charming people.
That's what happens. That's how they do it. These killers.
Yeah. What else do we have to process, huh?
Oh my God, is there anything left? I mean, that's so much.
It was a lot. It was so much. As I was reading it, when I first got maybe like 120 pages in, and you didn't know that Hudson had been there and Addie had killed the father, that was revealed, I audibly reacted to that. I was sitting next to my son and I go, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? I'm like, good book, honey, good book. I mean, that was, they were so significant, the way she dropped them.
Yes.
Because it has you weaving through, trying to figure out, oh, this kid's messed up. Something happened. What? Oh my God.
Yeah.
There were multiple times that I was
oh yeah,
responding to the book verbally.
Me too. Like I said, I was screaming at the end when she revealed she was having sex with the other student.
Oh my God.
God.
And I said to Joe, I'm like, no, she didn't know that he was a student. That's not possible. And he's like, of course she knew that he was a student. And I was like, no, there's over 1,000 kids in the school. Maybe she doesn't have him in class. And then I was like,
no.
Was there a chapter where he was sitting in her class? I need to go back and see, was he sitting in her class? But I went back to the chapter where she first met him in the shoe store. And she said, he looked familiar at first.
Yeah.
And then we talked for 2 hours, crying about this, crying about that, getting to know each other. And then he kissed me unexpectedly. And I was like, oh, that talking for 2 hours, it came out.
Of course.
In that 2 hours that he's a student and she's a teacher. I mean,
and of course,
yeah.
Assemblies, walking in the hallway, lunch, they see each other. He knows all the teachers in school.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's on the football team or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So while you could potentially have a student that you don't realize, I think that is possible, given the way that they had all that time together before they started having sex in the back of the shoe store. She knew. She knew. Total hypocrite.
Yeah. And she's obsessed with shoes, and that's kind of a little bit of a part of this as well.
Yes.
At the end, with her death, and
yeah,
I thought it was cool that they buried her in a pumpkin patch. It was very Halloween-y. I like that.
I liked that she was taking the rotting pumpkins and putting them in the kitchen when she was supposedly dead. And the husband came in the kitchen and found the rotting pumpkin with a raven in it.
So cool.
She did a good job messing with him.
Because he liked The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know who this could be. There's only one person it could be. And then he had to go make sure that she was dead because she's the only person that could be doing it. And I'm like, she's not doing it. She was doing it.
Yep.
It's wild.
I thought Mr. Tuttle was somehow involved as well.
He was like a distracting character because in the beginning of the book, he grabs her in the grocery store and he's like, watch out for Addie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Addie did something really serious. She's really sick. He knows that she killed someone, or something. But that was just distracting information. He was drunk at the time.
Can we talk about something? Because there was something in this book that I was just like, no. So one of the things that contributed to his being fired, Mr. Tuttle, is because he gave Addie a ride home.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, a lot of teachers give students rides home. I'm like, who? What teacher is giving students rides home?
I was thinking about that because my kids are middle school and high school age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, would a teacher give my child a ride home? And
in this day and age?
Honestly,
no.
Anybody that gives anyone a ride home that's a student or a patient, it's really, you're not being the smartest that you could be in that situation. I think you're opening yourself up to an allegation.
Correct.
So I don't think it's wise. But I don't know if it would be against policy for teachers. I'm not sure. I'm not a teacher, so I really don't know. I could see.
I would think so.
One of our teachers, my kids absolutely love this woman. She's so sweet, and it's she's an extension of the family. And I'm sure if they were sitting on the curb and they were like, oh, my mom just got in a car accident, I can't get a ride home and I'm waiting, she'd be like, come on and get in the car, I'll take you home, honey. It would not be a problem,
It's just not a good idea.
It's not a good idea. But
for that reason, like allegations, and as well as just like being hit by a Mack truck, and then you just killed someone's kid.
Yeah.
Like
liability there.
They let them wait on the fucking corner. Wait with them.
Yeah.
Until the parents come.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
So I was just like, no.
It is a little sketch.
Who's giving 14-year-old girls, male teachers are giving 14-year-old girls a ride home from school?
It's risky.
No.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I when I was reading it, I paused. I was like, ooh. And the student appropriate was like, I don't know that I should do this,
Yeah.
But she learned her lesson because of Mr. Tuttle getting in trouble.
Right.
But he didn't just get in trouble because of that. He got in trouble because she was then stalking in his yard.
Yeah.
And that was like, well, why is she stalking in the yard? What happened between the two of you?
Yeah.
So I also feel bad because nothing happened between the two of them.
Yeah.
And he lost his job. But it sounds like he chose to leave the job because he's like, this is too much scandal, too much with my name, and I wouldn't be comfortable working in that environment anymore. And maybe he was close to retirement age too, so he's just like, screw it all, I'm done, peace out, people.
Yeah, he sounded old.
So yeah, it was a shame, but that was a significant distractor piece of the story that really was not he didn't end up being a murderer or anything like that.
So I think she's very skilled. She's up there for me with Shari LaPena and Lisa Jewell. How many stars did you give this?
5, of course.
Yep, me too. 5-star read from the Book Buds.
So I'm hoping if you guys watch this spoiler version of this, like, you've actually read the book. So tell us, oh my God, what were you freaking out about? Did you like it too? Did you like it as much as we did?
Let us know. And if you're enjoying Book Buds, give us a thumbs up.
And share us with your friends.
And subscribe to our channel, Book Buds!
Golly gee, that sounded like a great book.
Something I want to say that's non-spoilery. Something I want to say that... And then I'm just going to be me without a wig. Smile for the camera, Joe. What do you think of this, guys?
You like it?
It's doing like a flock of seagulls thing.
Flock of
What do you think of this?
What does that mean, a flock of seagulls?
That's good, right?
That's my life.
And then
Math and no sex for my husband.
We'll call
yeah, let's before we take this shit off.
Tree in my frying pan.